everyone, I'm Callie.
I'm Lauren.
And welcome back to the Book Common Room podcast. Just got trumpets going.
Oh, yeah.
All right, welcome back. Welcome to our spoiler-filled episode. Last episode, we just talked a lot about why this book could be as popular as it is, maybe some reasons. This episode, we're going to go into our personal thoughts. I also pulled some thoughts from my friend Kelsey that I think would be fun to talk about. Yeah, just like, well, what was this book even about? My friend Kelsey, I literally just sat her down and I was like, tell me every single reason why you liked this book.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of what she said is in the second one, so maybe we tried to keep this just for the first book.
But we might bleed a little into the second one, but we will make sure to preface it before.
Yeah. So there are probably going to be some spoilers for the second one too. Hopefully not too bad. Okay, so I asked her initially why she loved this book so much, and she said she loved the complexity of the politics. She didn't love the romance in the story. She felt like it was pretty toxic. But she loved how learning about why people feel like they're so oath-bound to protect their kingdom, and then like the morals of the school, and how at the beginning you're like, it's just reality, so you don't really question it. But then as you continue on, you start to question it. She really liked that. She said she felt like it felt a lot like fan fiction. Like fan fiction of a bunch of different books.
Interesting.
But she didn't really care.
Yeah.
She's like, I like fan fiction. I thought that was fine. She didn't really care. Yeah. She did say that she felt like the romance brought down the politics, but not enough that she didn't love it.
Interesting.
So Kelsey loved the lore behind the powers and the dragons.
Yes.
She felt like, I mean, you get into it more in the second book, but especially the first one. She just loved being introduced to it and learning more about it. So she personally liked the second book more than the first one, because she felt like the first one introduced a lot of the stuff and it had some exciting things in it, but the second one's really when you get the politics.
Yes, I'm with her.
And she loved that.
I'm with her, because I also read the second one.
I love it.
It's good.
And then, let's see here, she loved how it was fast-paced. She loved that you were never bored. It just was going. There was something going on. She said the saddest part for her in the first one, so we're real spoiler talking. She thought Liam's death was very tragic.
Oh my gosh.
Specifically because he's protecting Violet. She felt like this was a turning point for Violet to recognize that the government is not all that great. Yes. And then because of this, she was able to discover that she can control lightning. But then also, she realized in that moment she couldn't trust anyone, not even her best friend Dane. Like no one can be trusted.
Not that she has powers, but how to control the lightning.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, she knew before. That makes sense. Because it's her about like controlling it. Cool. Like that, like Liam's death was very tragic and she's very sad and she said she cried. But it was mostly like that was the moment for Violet when she really like became who she needed to be. Got it. Like really became into herself. I totally agree with that. Yep.
The other thing I thought was when she said that even though that now she's a dragon rider, she realizes that that doesn't mean she can protect everyone she loves. Yeah. Because at the beginning of the book, that's kind of why she wanted to do it. Become a dragon rider. She didn't want her sister to die like her brother and all these things to happen. But it didn't matter because people are still dying. Yep. And then she thought the ending when her brother was actually alive was mind-blowing.
Oh, same. I was like, you've got to be joking me.
She actually, I did think it was interesting. She said she didn't, like after finishing the second one, she couldn't see how it could get better, but then it did.
That's how I was.
Yeah.
And that's what I had a friend tell me. They were like, it's pretty fast-paced, but it does get better. And I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, okay. And I read the second one, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this is good.
This is great.
Yeah.
Just to finish off, I just kind of asked her about the character specifically because she talked a lot about the politics. She said she loved Violet because she loved her ingenuity and creativity and determination. She accepted her reality and was going to live it. Yeah. Like she knew that she was never going to be physically strong, so she was going to use poison. Yep. And until she learned other ways to survive. So that's what she was going to do, but she loved like the initiative. Yeah. Violet knew. So she was going to figure it out. She was going to do it.
It's like you kind of compensate for your weaknesses with these strengths because she knew poison. Yeah. She also was a scribe.
Yeah.
And so she's very knowledgeable, which is super handy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She said the only thing that frustrated about her was her approach to romance. She was like, she's a horny 20-year-old, but she likes how she said that she matures in the second book, but at least in the first one, she was like, I kept forgetting that she was 20. I kept thinking she was like a teenager.
Oh,
like she was just very immature, very horny, and like constantly just thinking about like these different boys. She's like, I just kept getting annoyed.
Which is so funny because I have friends that love Violet because they identify with her because of that. No, yeah, like they were like, I was like, I get her. And I was like, okay, good for you.
Hey, you know what? There you go. The other side to it.
Yeah, but I had a friend that was like, I get Violet. Like, she's real for this. And I was like, that's so funny that you have so many different perspectives.
This is true. And then she thought that the Squad was fun to read about. Like the Fourth Wing. She thought she loved reading about it.
And they're also Rydick and
all of them.
Yeah.
She really thought Jack as a villain was very interesting. She liked how you eventually at one point you could sympathize with him when you learned about his background. But eventually when he just turns Venom and he's just evil.
Oh yeah, I'm still confused for one plot point in the second book with that.
I don't know.
But it's okay.
She liked how even though he becomes like a villain and he's pretty evil, you could still kind of sympathize with him. Just like a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little. And then she just thought the battles were very fun. Fun to read about. But that was just kind of like why she loved it.
I like it. I get it. All right, Callie, let's go.
Okay, are you ready?
We already know you don't like it, so it's okay.
I think what it is, I think it's the same thing with ACOTAR, is I just don't know if this is a genre that's for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the type of book. Like, I'm not the demographic that this was written for.
I feel like we're so different. Like, not because, like, this is the thing. I enjoy a lot of books you like.
Yeah.
I also enjoy a lot of books you don't like.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what's wrong with me.
There's nothing wrong with you.
No.
That's the answer.
Well, okay. But I just am like, I love how you, like, I feel you're so good at being, like, a good critic for yourself as a reader. I feel like I don't know what my thing is.
I don't know. I think I'm just picky.
That's not a bad thing. Anyways.
So that's kind of the big thing. I just don't know if I love this genre as a whole. There's usually a trend where I don't like the way it's written. The stakes just aren't enough for me. I just don't care about the stakes. Like her going in and having like a school where all it is you're just gonna die. Like that is a high stake, but I kind of want a little bit more. Like because you die or because these people die, like why is that important?
Yeah.
Like what are we gonna lose? What is your family gonna lose? Why do you need to survive? Like other than her own want, like why is it so important for you to live? I just wanted more stakes. The romance bugged me. I didn't think the whole the love triangle between Dane and Xaden, I didn't think that was all that interesting.
I didn't even think there was a triangle. It was like she was annoyed with Dane at the beginning. So I didn't even think he was in the picture.
Oh. Well, there's just the whole... At the very beginning, it's like... There was a line where she heard about Dane's name and her heart started to flutter and she was like freaking out. Then her sister was like, don't sleep with the second years, but sleep with the first years as much as you can. Yeah. Because you might die.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, interesting. Anyways. I could see why people love it though. Like it is fun to read this type of novel and every aspect of it fits the fantasy aesthetic.
Okay.
All of it does. The dragons, the magical school, the clothes, the hot people. Like the stereotypical fantasy aesthetic that people love is in Fourth Wing.
Ah.
And I think that's very easy to love.
Yeah.
I personally find it very cringe.
Well, I think there's a lot of cringe things about it too. I don't know. The weird thing about it is because it's from Violet's perspective, you never get Violet is gorgeous. Or like...
I might have just assumed that.
But the thing is,
because like Xaden, like everybody loves her.
But she is obsessed with Xaden.
Yeah.
But what's weird is, as you get further in the book, nobody sees Xaden like she does. So it's like interesting because as I read it more, I'm like, oh, it's different from ACOTAR and like Throne of Glass, like Sarah J. Maas writing, where everyone has to be beautiful. Yeah. But that one is like interesting because it's her POV, and so when she describes other people, it's not like they're like all gorgeous.
And I never even know, like, really how she looks other than her hair. Mm-hmm. But when she describes Xaden, he's the only, like, gorgeous person.
Yeah. And her sister.
And her sister. But also, I feel like I would say that about my sister.
Yeah, that's
my
right. I say that about my sister, yeah.
But anyways, that's interesting take. Like, it does have a ton of the tropes. And a lot of them can be very cringe. Very cringe.
Like the corsets. I know eventually you learned that it's a vest, okay? I know this. But when I first read the corset that her sister gives her, I was imagining a corset that just pushes your boobs up, and then these, like, you know those pleather like those pleather pants that are really, really shiny?
Yeah.
Those are the pants I envisioned. And I was like, what?
That's what you're wearing?
That's what you're wearing? You don't want to stand out, and you want to go to this military school, but, like, that's what you're wearing? Everyone else is going to be in normal clothes. So,
It's
like,
cold.
And it's cold, and you're walking on a parapet, so you want, like, your clothes to be tight, but also, like, why are you showing off this dragon's, like, scale corset
that you're supposed to be hiding?
Yeah, like, it just didn't really make much sense to me at the beginning. Again, I know eventually you learned that it's different, but, like, the initial image just never left my mind.
Yeah. Also, like, yeah, that was a huge thing, because that thing, like, saved her life throughout the whole first year.
I mean, I kind of saw the whole, like, Frodo and the little
Mithril.
That's kind of like where I was like, oh, I wonder if she took that idea.
Like Bilbo,
but again, he wore that underneath and, like, kept it secret. And
yeah, you didn't know about it until he almost, like, got skewered. So
again, I didn't read the second one, so the politics just in the first one bugged me. I know the second one, she fixes a lot of it, but I had a hard time with the contradictions in the first one that I felt were present, where she would say, like, the school was a punishment for kids who were part of the revolution to go to, but then also a lot of people wanted to volunteer to go. Yeah. So if it's supposed to be punishment, why do people want to volunteer? It just annoyed me. But then also, like, if you need people to fight, why would you kill them off at a school? You can have a war school with mistakes without killing them.
I kind of get it, but I'll talk about it later, because I get what you're saying, but I also thought of it differently. I don't know.
Yeah. All of this is just how I read it.
No, it's fair.
And it bugged me. And then I just needed higher stakes. And I mean, you can read other books with competitive schools. Like The Will of the Many is a great book, fantasy book that has a very competitive war school. Yeah. The Poppy War has a war school in it where if you aren't the top of the class, you're out. The stakes for me, I just felt like weren't enough. Because normally in most fantasy books, there is an element of if someone is like, you fail, you're probably going to die. There is an element in most fantasy books where that is present. But there's also something else. Like in The Sword of Kaigen, there was an element of if, like, Miyazaki dies in the war, like, that is tragic, but then she's got her kids, and she basically, this is a spoiler, well, it doesn't matter, she basically has become the head of the town, so if she dies, then I would have never trusted her husband to, like, run that on his own. So Takeru. So there's just, like, I was kind of hoping there was another aspect, which, I mean, we do get later. But initially, when I'm first reading about this school that's cutthroat and you die, it just didn't make sense. I, like, went into it and I'm like, but as a government, I feel like you would want as many people as you can get. Because, like, I could see if you fail, then you become, like, a grunt soldier. And you failed, you don't get a dragon, but you are going to still be a soldier just on the ground.
Yeah, it's kind of like you either have to choose these three things, and if you're an infantry or a scribe, you don't die if you fail. But it's just for the writers. So I'm wondering if they're just like
you can still have high stakes if you fail, but
it just didn't make sense.
And in, like, a school setting, it doesn't make sense either. Like, normally, you go to school to learn and get better, but if you're just gonna die, you're not gonna get any better.
It's just like a survival game.
Yeah, so it just didn't make sense to me. And, like, not knowing the politics at the beginning just was a little frustrating, because I felt like I was having to, like, fill in the holes myself until we learned about it, and I just was frustrated.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know then why I should care.
Yes, I like that. That's fair.
The one other thing that, just the overarching thing that bugged me besides her writing, I didn't like her writing style at all. I thought the swearing was kind of lazy.
Oh.
Just felt very excessive. I don't mind swearing. But I do feel like sometimes she used swear words like in place of an adjective or just like a way to describe something or how someone felt. She just put in a swear word. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's not the style that I like.
I think Violet. I think she also is she just swears a lot.
She does. I mean, in dialogue, it doesn't normally bug me, but in like paragraphs when she's describing something,
it's weird.
And there's 5 swear words like in it,
in a description.
In a description, I'm like, why is that? I don't know. It just felt lazy.
Yeah, I can see that.
I could see Yarros wanting to be like edgy and different in a lot of ways when she's creating the story. That's why the military school is so cutthroat, because you'll die. So she's like edgy and different.
That's so funny.
Or like Violet is small, but she's edgy and different because she does poisons. I just felt like she was trying to be unique, which she was in a lot of ways, but it felt very forced, in my opinion.
Oh.
And it just didn't hit the mark for me.
Interesting.
I just didn't love it a lot. I got very frustrated.
That's okay.
And did not enjoy it.
That's okay.
And even when you start to learn about things,
you didn't care.
I didn't care because I was just so frustrated.
No, I feel like there's a lot of people just like you, and I feel like a lot of them, like you, didn't read it for these reasons.
Yeah.
And now they're like, great, now I don't need to read it, because I know. So I think that's good for people out there that feel similar to Callie, because I feel like all of those were like fair assessments. I feel like you described them very diplomatically.
I definitely had conversations with you and my sister
that were not diplomatic. But I like you saying it like that. I'm like, I totally understand that. I also feel like in the moment you're very passionate, like not like you.
No,
but
I know
like,
what you mean.
In general, and so you don't really know how to describe why you feel the way you do.
It's like I feel this way.
I feel this way just because it is.
It's
so
annoying.
No, it's so fair, and I feel like I really resonate with a lot of things that you said. Are there any other thoughts that you want to share?
I think it's about it. Kelsey said a lot of things that I do think are enjoy and important.
Yeah.
That I mentioned, but overall, I think I can see why people like it. It is unique in its own way.
Yeah.
But it's just not my type of book.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'll probably never read any of her romance books.
I won't.
No, I'm okay.
I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to, not that I don't read these books anymore, but I'm finding other books that I'm like, I just want to explore something new.
Yeah, like I feel like there are other books. I mentioned The Will of the Many has a military school in it that I loved. Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb has dragons that are very similar to the ones in Fourth Wing.
Oh, interesting.
And I love that one.
I really like what Kelsey said about the dragons and the powers. I was interested in that because I'm like, these actually feel like dragons. Like,
yeah. Like I like the aspect of the dragons looking at humans like they're nothing.
Yeah.
Like and like they have to work with them.
They
so
have
I guess
to work
they
with them.
will. I like that aspect.
Yeah. I liked that. I liked
because they're thousands of years
and
old.
they feel
and
that
huge.
way, or like hundreds of years old, or like, and they're huge, or they're just sassy,
and they're all powerful,
and they're grumpy.
Yeah.
And like, if you're not with your dragon, you're probably gonna die.
Yeah.
And so I think I liked that because I felt like that was real. But cool.
Yeah, that's all I have about it. Thanks
Love
for listening to my TED Talk.
It was great. I loved it.
Okay, what were your thoughts? Let's hear all about it.
Okay. So,
Cecil.
I think I felt similar to Kelsey, where I love the politics and things, like in shows, and like, and it's funny because I don't like talking politics, but I love watching it in like worlds and books and shows. And so felt like from the get-go of the book, I was like, something's up. But from the get-go, I was like, this is sus. And so I felt like it was always there. It was just an underlining tone in the book. Yeah. And it was like, I felt like it anytime they were in the war room and they had to like ask the right questions. And I was like, this feels interesting. Like, I like the teacher, but there are other teachers that do it differently. Also from the get-go, like Dane's dad was weird. And so I was like, okay, so is this, I didn't know how widespread it was. I was like, is this just the school? Is this how the world works? And I felt similar to you because if I was a citizen of Navarre, I wouldn't want to live there.
No.
I feel like I would have been a traitor too, because it seems so cutthroat for literally no logical reason.
Yeah.
And so with the riders dying, I was trying to figure out, I was like, okay, I get it needs to be the strongest, needs to survive after parapet. And that makes sense. And then after that point, though, like, you would think you would want to, like, take care of each other, but it just felt like everyone saw each other as, like, a competition that they needed to get rid of. And I think they were trying to, like, thin it out because only a certain amount of dragons bond with riders.
Yeah.
And
but
you
when
have
do
to
they need to die.
No, I don't know. See, that's the thing. So it's like you have to die. Nobody can just leave.
Yeah.
And so I did think that was like super intense.
Well, the other thing that I didn't understand was why would you give your enemy the opportunity to ride a dragon? Because there is a high probability that they were gonna die. I get that.
Yeah.
But like, why in the end would you still give them a chance to?
See, that's what I wondered too, and I think it was a form of punishment because no dragon would bond with a rider that wants ill intent on the country, because the dragon knows, and so like the dragons obviously like care about Navari. That's why they're working with the humans in the first place. So anytime they can sense in their rider that they want to hurt the country, they wouldn't bond with them.
Yeah.
So I think that was why. But also,
Zayden still did.
So they trusted them, but he didn't though, because the way Zayden was like protecting the country was in favor of what the dragons have been wanting to do.
Yeah.
But they just didn't tell It's just like crazy, like the omission of information. I was like, what is going on? Anyways, the book I didn't think was gonna be that widespread.
Yeah.
Back to my thoughts. I loved how at the beginning you were immediately put into tension. I would have died. I would have died. I would have been like the kid that like happened to say he was engaged to this girl.
Oh yeah, that was
and
so
then walked
sad.
the parapet and slipped off. That would have been me. I would have like had like great hopes for my future and then just tripped off the parapet into the freaking river. That would have been me.
Slid down the stairs.
Rip. That would have been me. Do you like Zayden's character? I felt like he did things that I liked because he was able to like make people stronger by not protecting them, I guess, all the time. Like he was like, you need to stop poisoning people for a little bit so you can actually just like, because in the end you won't know what the weaknesses of your opponent are. Yeah. So you got to figure out. I feel like people should have read it by now, so maybe I should give more context to that. But Callie talked about this. She was poisoning people because she learned from her brother this trick to find out who you'd be fighting in their sparring matches. And so Zayden finds out. He's like, I don't know how you're finding this out, but when you're out on the actual field, you're not going to have a list to know who you're fighting. So you need to get over this. Whereas Dane is like, don't fight. Let's put you out of the matches. Let's not make you stronger. So I did like that characteristic where it's like there's a way to be protective, but in the end that would hurt her, not protect her. So I liked that characteristic. I feel like that's a trope too in a lot of books. I think I've discovered. Okay. I don't even know how to describe this. I like romantic books. I don't mind romantic books. I think it depends on who's writing them. But not necessarily written as romantic-y. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, so like The Mirror Visitor is a series that I'm reading.
There's a romance in there.
It's a romance, but it's not a romantic-y. It's fantasy. There's romance, but it's not romantic-y.
I classify it as if you take out the romance, there's still a story.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Yes. So I feel like that's kind of was my issues with the book. I felt moved by her relationship with her squad. I did like their real bond at the end.
Like the found family?
Yeah. And I felt like their banter was fun and believable. It get Hunger Games vibes, but I need to read the books. Yes. Yeah. Again, I wouldn't have lived in Navari if I had a choice. And reading the second book definitely helped iron that out. I was like, okay, I get this. I did read this book and be like, I need to take jujitsu. I was like, awesome. I need to be a fighter.
Learn martial arts.
I know, like even more so than Sword of Kaigen. Like Sword of Kaigen, like I don't know, it was very
elemental
magic. Yeah. And there's also martial arts, but in this I was like, oh man, I gotta get stronger. Like I need to not pass out if I have to cross a parapet kind of thing. But I did like what Kelsey said about Liam. Felt Liam's death was so crushing. I cried. upstairs in bed, like as Grayson was trying to fall asleep. Aww. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I definitely think that moment was making Violet into who she needed to be, but I think it also haunts her for the rest of the series, because it haunts her throughout the second one, and spoiler there, and I think it will in the next book. So we shall see. And then my last thought of this book is kind of where it ends. Like, it ends with her being healed, but she's super mad at Xaden because he kept stuff from her. And she's super betrayed. And I was like, I'd probably feel upset for a split second because you put me in a situation that I wasn't fully prepared for. He was trying to prep her for it for a while. And so she was just like so mad at him. And spoiler for the second book, the half of the book is her being like, I can't be with you because I can't trust you. And it's like, that's so dumb, because there's more lives than hers at stake. One. And also, you live in a world where you yourself have to omit certain information, which isn't necessarily lying, but it's lying by omission. But it's because you have to protect people that way, because information and knowledge in this world clearly is very powerful. And if you know certain things, you're going to get in major trouble, because no one is supposed to know that the Griffins aren't the enemies. Like, that is the whole thing. And like, the wards that you're using to protect everybody are what could save everyone, but you're just selfishly keeping that to yourself as a country, which you don't know. And so it's crazy. It's like, girl, how could he tell you all of this at once? One, for you to believe it. And also, if he told you, Dane would have accidentally read your mind and told his dad. And
That's
so
true.
She's not at a place to protect her brain and memory from people with other powers. And so I never got that. That betrayal, I was like, I can't believe that Violet is this way. Like, that's just
I wonder if a lot of that stuff would have been fixed if Violet was younger.
Yeah.
Like, if this was more of like a high school setting versus like a early college setting.
Yeah.
Because that is very immature.
Yeah. I'm like,
but that's like immaturity that someone experiences as they're figuring out life. I mean, 20-year-olds are doing the same thing, but...
Yeah, but I just was like... And I guess, like, how would anyone react if they realized everything that they were living was a lie?
Yeah.
And, like, their dad died for nothing? Like, her dad died from heartbreak of her brother's death, who's actually alive.
Yeah.
And her mom must know about these lies, because she has, like, the dagger that can kill the venom, which aren't supposed to exist. And there are no records for it. And so I would be like, if everything was betrayed by other people, I would of course be mad. I would be mad at my mom.
Yeah.
I would be.
Yeah.
I don't get her being mad at Xaden, though.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. I was like, oh, girl, get over yourself.
I wonder if Yarros just needed, like, tension.
Probably.
Needed some romantic tension.
Literally, I think that's what it is.
They couldn't just be together.
That's how the second one is. And, like, it's weird because they're somehow together, but they're somehow not. And it's just because, like...
I wonder if that's what Kelsey meant when the romance detracts from the politics.
In the second book, for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, the politics are so cool. But it's like this fight that Xaden has to, like, win her trust back. But he's also like, I can't tell you everything still. But she is very smart. She figures out a lot of stuff.
That was one thing that I kind of wish that Yarros played into more, was how smart Violet is.
Like, if she just sits, she can, like... piece it together.
Well, she spent basically her whole life being a scribe.
Yeah.
And, like, learning history and knowing stuff. Like, she's a smart gal.
Yeah. So anyways, she's very sharp. And the second book, she does really cool things where I'm like, wow, Violet is very smart. Yeah. Like, and it's not just like, oh, she's a genius, but she, like, it shows you how she thinks through things. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense. But I was, like, frustrated by the whole betrayal aspect because it just felt manufactured.
Yeah. Where do you think the third one might go? Real quick, before our battery dies.
The third one. Onyx Flame. I have no idea. I really don't. I feel like there was a giant plot twist at the end of Iron Flame. Do you already know what it is?
Yeah, Xaden's a venom.
Yeah! That killed me! I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, no! I was like so upset. So, Kate, I freaking had a crisis when I read that. I was like, no! Finally, like, things are falling into place, and he didn't, like, his dragon hates him right now.
Yep.
Because he pulled power from the earth, which is a big no-no. like steal from the earth. You're supposed to pull from the sky and the dragons.
Yeah.
So that was a big no-no. So his dragon feels betrayed. Somehow Violet is able to accept this because I think she got to a point where she was close to doing the same thing to try and save the country and like to save Xaden, because Xaden clearly loves Violet more than anything else. So like,
yes,
everything else can just go away and whatever to do to save her. So he's a Venin. Ugh! And I was like, oh my gosh. So I just had to like step away from the book and be like, you know what? I accept this. And if he stays this way, they'll figure it out. So it's fine. So I think that's going to be a huge thing about the book is either learning how to cure Venin or like how people can learn to live being a Venin. Yeah. I think that'll be a big plot for the next one. And then clearly there's going to be like a huge like battle between Venin and Griffin Riders and Dragon Riders, because now a ton of riders know that they've been lied to, but they still choose to fight for their country.
Yeah, I'm just interested where this one's going to go, because if there's going to be 5 books, this is like the middle book.
Wait, what?
You didn't know that?
No!
I knew that. There's going to be 5 books. What? It's going to be a 5-book series. So this is the 3rd book's like the middle book.
There's no way! This book is going to be so... Okay, I'm worried that this is going to be boring now. So she's going to have
to do a lot of setup if she's going to keep going, right?
No. This is going to be a drag out of Xaden being a Venin. No! Oh, no.
It's not a trilogy. She's not wrapping it up.
I thought this was the end.
No, and then you're going to have to wait for the 4th one, and then wait for the 5th one.
No! I'm going to have to wait 2 years to finish the series. I don't have time for that. This is why I don't wait to read story. Like, I have to read series when they're done.
I like reading series when they're done.
Because I'm like,
you can binge them.
I just took the whole series from you and I'm just working through them.
You did?
I can barely handle the wait from December to now for this 3rd book. This is a problem. There better not be a crazy shocker at the end of that book.
Probably.
I'm not going to survive. I'm in shock.
Knowing Rebecca, Miss Rebecca, there's probably going to be a cliffhanger. Who knows what she's going to do? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
I'm curious to see what you're going to think about the 3rd one. If she is clever enough to make... Because I feel like it's been so fast-paced. She's got to slow down somehow,
what I'm wondering.
Right?
Is she going to just... But I don't want that.
Or she might create a whole other... She
issue.
might, have, the 3rd book is going to solve the issues we know now, but there's, another underlining... Because you don't really know much about the king, right? My prediction...
Oh, no. You know about the sun. And I was like, the sun's going to play a huge role.
See, my prediction is there's some other underlining massive villain that's going to come into play that's older than dragons, older than everything.
Or the king knew about all of this.
And the king is going to know about all of it. Because I think it's weird that she has this massive kingdom that has all these politics without really having the king involved. Because I don't know, that just feels weird.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. I think that's what's going to happen.
I like it. I really like it. There's a lot of things that need to be loosened. Also, it's her final year of being a writer. So, what the heck is going to happen, you guys?
I don't know. But Battery's going to die. So we should probably end here.
Yeah.
But we had fun talking about Fourth Wing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you didn't, put in the comments why or why not you liked it.
You have someone here to support you.
You have both sides.
You
have both sides here.
We listen and we don't judge.
Both ways.
Both ways. Except I clearly do judge.
I do too.
So, sorry. So I feel like the intention of not judging is there. We'll do our best.
Okay, I think we judge, but at our heart and core, we're not judging.
No.
I think we question it and we wonder why.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't really care.
No, at the end of the day, we don't. But we're just glad
you're reading along with us.
Gather
no matter
and
what
read.
It is.
Yeah. Thanks for watching our spoiler episode. We are preparing to read Jane Austen's Persuasion for February.
We're so excited. We're going to read a romance. We just talked about how we don't like romance, but I do like Jane Austen romance.
And we can get into the reason why we chose this book more as we prep for the book in February. Mm-hmm. But, you guys, if you're going to read Jane Austen, this is a good one to start with. And yeah, it is a romance, but it's not just romance. It's hilarious. Mm-hmm. So you should read it.
Jane Austen's so funny.
So thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.